Welcome folks. On this next series of videos that I will be doing will be about the high performance Thermoquad Carburetor. What you see before you is the one that I have in another series of videos I also have on my channel, Rocky's Roadshow. And for this series here we're going to show you how to actually rebuild one of these things. Mind you, I probably won't be using a whole lot of new parts, but I will be defining what to look out for and little problems that may come up with along the way, as well as what parts that I might recommend if I have some to show you, that is. First, before we start really tearing into this thing here, a very serious note about safety. The very first thing I'd like to mention is get yourself some safety glasses if you don't already have some. Dollar store you can get them at if you really want to save a few bucks, but if you want to get something a little more professional, I'll leave that up to you, as long as you got your eyes protected, because there's some little clips on the side here and on the linkages there that they tend to go flying if you don't really know how to handle them and how to deflect them, if you will. So that's the very first thing I'd like to mention, is safety glasses. The second thing too, when you're working with gasoline, it's a very flammable liquid, as well as some of the cleaners you'll be using, like the carb cleaners and whatnot. The reason I mention this is because you don't want to be using these products in your house at all, especially if you have any kind of ignition source, such as gas appliances, natural gas appliances that is. Most people won't be working in their kitchens, but in the basement you'll have usually a hot water heater, and it's heated by using natural gas and a flame. Also, a lot of heating units, they have natural gas as their fuel to create the flame in order to heat your house. And also, even during the summertime, a lot of them have pilot lights going, a little flame going, although you're not really using any natural gas to heat the house, but you always will be using gas to warm your water if you have a gas-fired water heater. Also, some people might even have a gas-fired dryer for their clothes. So with those mentioned, the safety aspects of this, I can't overstress enough. Last thing you want to do is start blowing the place up and injuring people. Okay, there's the safety part of it for the start of this series of videos. Okay, just some brief things to watch out for. I can show you these clips that I was mentioning that go flying, so make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. And I'll go over a few of these points with you before we actually start taking this thing apart. As you can see here, I get my famous pointer. These little clips here, they're like little horseshoes. There's one there and one there on either end of the linkage. I'll show you some shortcuts along the way. You might not have to take them all apart and everything. Like for instance, this linkage here for the choke pull-off that also regulates the air door sector here. You just take this one off here and you can actually snake this through and out the opening without having to take additional parts off. Just more parts to go flying and lose. Additionally, there should be some new parts that you might want to consider, especially if you want to have a really well-running carburetor engine combination after you reinstall this on your engine. I'll just mention this while I have one in place here. This is the actual gasket that fits underneath the carburetor, between the base of the carburetor. We're upside down, mind you, and the intake manifold would be facing you, and what it is it's really quite impressive. I remember the first time I saw one. They're actually two really thick gaskets. They're actually sandwiched together, and they were really serious about, with the Thermoquad, like I'd mentioned in my other series of videos, is this Phenolic resin float bowl here. The reason they used this plastic looking substance here was to keep the fuel cooler. And by keeping the fuel cooler and more dense, you would have a greater power output with your engine, instead of a hot, steamy kind of a fuel going through. And then that's right in the carburetor itself. But getting back to this gasket, these engineers were really serious about keeping everything cool, because your intake manifold on top of a V8 engine, it gets really hot. So they've actually got it here. It's almost, with the two of them here, they're sandwiched together, it's almost 5/16 of an inch in thickness. And I don't know if you can see it on your video or not, but there's staples here that how they connected the two gaskets together. one little one here, and one little one sort of kitty corner to that, and that holds them together just as far as that part goes. And also to locate them with the carb mounting holes, the 4 of them on the corners, they've also got these little plastic inserts here. See if I can get one out. There you go, it's just a little plastic insert in there. And that's what locates everything all and keeps them all in line so that everything is going to fit properly, not cause any obstructions with the throttle valves or anything. But this is a used one, mind you. You can see the outlay of that. I'll try to orient it a bit better and get my pointer out here. You can see this shape here. This is actually the way it sits. Mind you, we're upside down with the carburetor and the gasket. This is the part of the gasket that actually is located on top of the intake manifold, and you can actually see the outline of this used gasket where it's actually been clamped down with the 4 retaining bolts through the carburetor base where it actually got squished down. Now you don't really want to reuse one of these when you install a new carburetor. The reason being is it might not seal up properly, get a vacuum leak, performance problems, idling problems. And on this side here you can actually see it mimics the same shape as the base of the carburetor actually when it's compressed, and it shows you all the different places where it's been squished between the intake manifold and the base of this carburetor. So that sits like so. That's going to really keep your fuel cool. Okay, that's just some basic stuff that I had for the start of this video sequence that I'm going to be doing. It'll probably come in multiple parts. I'm not sure if I'll reach as high as 10 parts. I'm not really sure. We'll just have to wait and see, but I'll try to get them out and on YouTube as soon as I'm able to find the time and try to remember exactly what I used to do when I rebuilt these things. So there you have it for part 1, folks. Stay tuned. The rest will follow, and we'll get this thing running back the way it should. It doesn't matter how nice, new and shiny it is, just by sitting on an engine that's you know, been transferring all this heat upwards towards these things. There's things that do deteriorate, especially some of the original ones where they have some gaskets / seals inside. The older ones were like a leathery or a gasket type material. They'd dry up, and you'd actually have fuel trickling down the primary bores, which isn't very good for gas mileage or exhaust fumes. But I'll get into all the different parts as we roll along here. This is just part 1, like I'd mentioned. So we'll leave you with that, some food for thought, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of actually taking this thing apart piece by piece. And then I'll mention those the sequence, especially where it applies to the linkages that would affect how this thing runs, especially during the choke cycle. So with all that said for part 1, take care, have a nice day, and bye for now.